Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO. In studio right now, 'tis the season. It's election 2020. We've got yet another candidate in studio. This time, our first candidate joining us about Lubbock County, the seat for Lubbock County Commissioner Precinct 1, Ann Dumbauld, in studio. Welcome back.
Good morning. It's good to be back again.
Yeah, glad to have you here in studio. Tell folks, for those who, if folks have been paying attention to Lubbock politics for a while, I think that they've heard your name, they know who you are. But as you know, there are a lot of people who move into Lubbock every single week and don't know about you and kind of your backstory. Tell folks a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run for this seat.
Sure. I was recruited in 2004 to come to Lubbock as the CFO, which I did. And then after a year, the then city manager went back to San Antonio area, and the city council asked me to serve as city manager, which I did until 2013. And then spent a couple years working on Jody Arrington's campaign. I also worked on Glenn Robertson's campaign. Then I was hired by Ronnie Keister, our tax assessor, for 3 years to be their finance manager downtown. And then after watching the county operations for those 3+ years, I decided it was time for commissioners to court to have a really strong public finance person, because there's a dearth of that at the county.
Well, and talk about that. There seems to be a lot more interest in county government right now and what the county commissioners are up to. What have you noticed that is, maybe lacking? I think that's a good word to use. Otherwise, you may not be running if you didn't think there was something lacking on the county commissioners court. What would you bring to the table, and what needs to be done?
My background is public finance, and I've been doing this for 30+ years. That tells you how old I am. And my expertise is public finance and long-term planning. I've worked in 7 different jurisdictions, so I've seen all kinds of political decisions, good and bad. And what I notice at the counties is that in 2018, their fund balance had declined by down to 1/5 of what it was just a few years prior. At the same time, if you look 2004 up to today, they have grown in assessed value by they're up to $22 billion in assessed value. So how you can have this increase and at the same time draw down fund balance obviously is a decision-making problem on what they're spending their money on.
Is it wasteful spending?
Yes. I was opposed to voting machines. That was $6 million. They paid cash. They also replaced all the technology at one time, which they can't get completely implemented, and they've spent now, I think it's up to about $9 million, while still having their prior technology firm that they owe money to. And then all of the upset over the ME office has cost a tremendous amount, and that took their cash reserves down to just an alarming level, considering you don't get your tax money until December, January each year, so you've got to have at least 4 months of float in order to get to the end. So I think they really cut it they cut it down to the quick, and now it's time to put it back and determine what are the capital plans that need to be in place. Nobody knows. I don't know. I have some good ideas on it, but to put pencil to paper, nobody's doing that down there, and their budget doesn't show what they're looking at in the future, and that's a big dilemma.
Has this been an ongoing issue, and if so, how long has this been an ongoing issue?
I looked at 20 years of financial results for the county, city, and school districts, and you'll notice with the county that their long-term planning has been sort of back of the envelope, and that's why, for instance, all of their public facilities are in terrible shape. They have a wonderful new engineer, Natalie, who's bringing things into the current day, but there's lots more to be done in that area.
So when you talk about, things that have been, I guess, neglected maybe by the county, and you also talk about a reserves that kind of you're short on reserves, how do you balance out the needs there?
That's the big dilemma, because you can't spend your way out of getting money back in the bank. So it's going to take, the full 4 years, I think, to get it back on good footing. One of the areas I particularly worry about, the jail is obvious since we hit capacity from time to time, like over Christmas holidays, but juvenile justice that nobody talks about, it probably needs maybe an $8 million upgrade. Now, there's a great deal of state funding that can go with that, but that means that there may be $2 million, $3 million, some huge number that will have to be put into that facility, and for very good reasons. But there's no plan at the commissioner's court level where they can see what's coming and balance that against countless other needs that they have.
Let's go ahead and take our break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Ann Dumbauld, candidate for Lubbock County Commissioner Precinct 1. We'll be right back here on the Chad Hasty Show. Chad Hasty Show News Talk, KFYO. Ann Dumbauld in studio, candidate for Lubbock County Commissioner Precinct 1. I think there are a few people in this race, and we'll have everybody who wants to be on during the election 2020 on the program. We've kind of started that within the last week. It's kind of picked up, Leanne, where people, at least the candidates, are starting to get out there a lot more. I know you've been doing a lot as well. I want to ask you, if you're elected, you're going to be overseeing one big project that is the Lubbock County Expo Center. And no matter how this thing goes, people are going to, you're going to be in the seat when decisions are made. What is your opinion so far on the Lubbock County Expo Center? How do you think things are moving? How do you think all this was put together?
Let's go back to the beginning. If I had been serving on Commissioner's Court earlier, I would have liked to have seen the big details and the smaller details worked out before it went on the ballot. That was not the case. 65% of the folks who voted in Lubbock County voted for that expo center. So that's what the Commissioner's Court needs to be doing. While I was still working at the county with Ronnie Keister, since we were collecting the hotel tax and the rent car tax, we were able to help the commissioners get bond counsel and to get their financial advisor. Since then, I'm not clear on who's doing what at the county level, but I did see on Facebook, and I do stay in touch with some of the folks that work on that project. They have bought the land, so I have to assume that the next step is to get their agreement in place. One of my issues with the county is that the general public, including myself, cannot really tell what they're doing. There's too much that's not updated, and whether that's a press release, whether that's a short little work session, maybe it's just say we're still working on it and we're not ready to present it. But that's where the public gets extremely frustrated, and that's where, in particular, I get frustrated in not knowing where these big projects are.
Well, and it sounds like from someone you care about the financials on this, and I'm sure you've heard the concern from many people out there is that they don't want this to turn into an issue where the financials they're not there. This thing starts getting built and it falls back on the taxpayers.
I don't think that's possible. If they do their documents properly, if they create the sort of agreements among the parties, the county should be insulated from that. Is
it your belief that the folks who are supposed to build this, the Expo Center, and are fundraising for it, should they have all money in hand or in the bank before construction starts?
I don't believe so, and that would seem uncommon coming from me. I'm on the LIPA board and have worked on that project with the committee and the people that work there and the developers, etc. You've got to have something coming out of the ground in order to get your final contributions. If they get agreements, written agreements with foundations, with major foundations, corporations. Those corporations and foundations are not going to pay it all up front. They're going to pledge to pay it over a time period. So it should be fairly easy for them to do a small gap financing in order to get that facility built and have the funding available to get it to completion.
Is there a percentage or a money figure that you would like to see? Let's say if you were on the county commissioners right now, if you win the election and you're watching this project come up and they say, hey, we're ready to move forward, ready to turn dirt. Is there a number that you would like to see them have before they start going?
Well, I'd like to see what the price of building the facility is other than
I think everybody wants that too, yes.
I'd probably want to start with that, and then I'd want to know how they're going to bid it, how they're going to select a design firm. There's lots of details there that I would like to know in order to answer the question properly.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people out there who are like that as well. Tell folks how they can find out more about you and your campaign.
If you will go to my Facebook page, it's Leanne for Lubbock, and that's for the number 4. And then you can follow what we're doing. We attend a lot of events. We've done a good bit of fundraising. We have more to do. We've put signs out like everybody else, and we just have to work hard, make calls, and hope for the best so that we can get the county financially turned around.
All right, Ann Dumbauld, thanks for stopping by today. I'm sure we'll visit a few more times before Election Day.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
All right. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO.